from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Sri Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhi vashtuna mumuk subhi parityago vairagyam fargukatyate. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1 to 258. The development of Krishna consciousness. By development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects, and as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so called renunciation is called falgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim to material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the Absolute, being impersonal, cannot eat. Whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, a devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So, after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus, everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist, therefore, cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation, and for this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. So, anger. I am very sure that all of us, I know I do, have examples in our life where we just completely lost it. That we just went crazy or we got so angry that we did something very stupid. So, today I'm going to discuss three things. Number one, I'm going to look at two examples, maybe three, from the Bhagavatam. Who is. I'm going to look at two examples from the Shastras, from the Mahabharata, from the Ramayana, in which we can see this at work. This verse where from anger, complete delusion arises, from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So we're going to look at examples of where that happened. I'm going to just tie it into modern psychology. What we as, if you're not so sure about the Shastras, I'll give you modern psychology that also supports this. And then we are going to look at an example of how someone can use their anger in the service of Krishna or their attachments. So, first example, or let me ask you, can you think of someone in the Bhagavatam, in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana, wherever, that lost their minds because they got angry, because they got attached to something? Duryodhana is one of the examples that I want to discuss. Someone else? Oh yeah, I didn't think of Kamsa, but yes, Kamsa. What's the festival day that we have next week? Do we know? Next week, Friday, we have yes, Ram Navami. So first, the two examples that I want to discuss from the Mahabharata and from Ramayana is Duryodhana and Ravana. So Duryodhana, those of you who don't know, he was the evil prince that stole the kingdom from his cousins, and he didn't want to give it back. So Duryodhana became attached to the kingdom. And from that attachment, he got angry because his father gave half the kingdom to his cousins, and they did really well. Indraprastha was a wonderful, opulent city, and Duryodhana got so angry that his cousins were doing well that he went crazy. So that was when he got attached to the kingdom that wasn't his, and then he got angry, and then he thought, okay, well, delusion. He became delusional because he thought, well, maybe I can steal it from them. So him and his uncle devised a plan. They had a dice game, Würfelspiel, and he said, well, we'll just dice. And it was a dishonest dice game because the dice were they were fixed so that the Pandavas wouldn't win. But I mean, how that's delusional to think that it's okay to steal a kingdom from someone. And then he, in his attachment and his greed for the kingdom, he completely forgot that the Pandavas were actually his cousins. They were his family. And he became 100%, he became their enemy, even though they were from the same family. And worst of all is everybody tried to make peace. Even Krishna came to Duryodhana and said, just give them 5 villages, not even the whole kingdom, just 5 villages. So 5 times Abenteuer. That's it. That's all we want. And he said, no, I will not give you so much land as would go on the tip of a needle. And then obviously they said, okay, then we have to fight. And what happened? He died. So he fell down again. So that was Duryodhana. Now, because Ramnavami is coming up, so I'm going to also talk about Ramayana. Who was the one in Ramayana who completely lost his mind? Ravana. So Ravana was a demon, and he was the demon king at that stage, and he had a lot of power, and everybody was scared of him. And at some stage, because Ram and Lakshman, he got to know that Ram and Lakshman was in the forest, and he knew that Sita was married to Ram, and he heard of her beauty. And then Ravana, through hearing about her beauty, became attached to her. He wanted her for himself. And everybody in the material world knows that if you try to steal someone else's wife or their husband, things are not going to go well for you. There's always some kind of trouble that goes with that. So, number one, he became attached to Sita. Number two, well, it's a little bit mixed, but he stole her and he took her to his kingdom. And he had a curse on him that said that if he violates a woman, also when he want, because he could have just raped her, he could have just took her and whatever, but he had this curse that said a woman has to voluntarily come to him, otherwise he will die. So that was there. So he tried to tell Sita how beautiful she is and how well he would take care of her and whatever, and she just completely um, refused. And then, because Ravana couldn't get what he wanted, he became angry. So angry that he told her, "Okay, I'll give you 1 year to change your mind. And then, otherwise, if you still say no, my cooks will serve you as my breakfast." Very gross. So that was his anger. He became so angry that he threatened to kill her anyway. But Ravana had, even because Ravana was a man eating demon, a Rakshasa, but he had a brother that was a great devotee of Ram, and his name was Vibhishan. And Vibhishan said, "You cannot be so stupid. You must give Sita back. You have to give her back, because otherwise the whole kingdom will, you will destroy the whole kingdom." And Ravana was so attached to this idea of possessing Sita that he didn't listen to good advice. Prabhupada says, Prabhupada says somewhere, and I can't remember where, but he, Prabhupada says that to have a good memory, like here, the loss, the bewilderment of memory, it doesn't just mean that you can't remember things, but most importantly, it means that you cannot remember the instructions of the Shastras. You cannot remember the instructions of your spiritual master. Okay? So that's where Ravana was at. He didn't listen, he refused all kind of good advice, and he said, "No, we are going to make war against Ravana." So he made a fatal mistake. He made a very stupid, deadly mistake, in that he thought that he could win Ravana. So that was his delusion. His delusion was that he thought he could have Sita to himself, and that he was stronger than Ram. And Ram was the personality of Godhead. So what happened to Ravana? He died. And yeah, so we can see that things do not go well if we do not control our senses. So these were the two examples from modern psychology. We know modern psychology and modern scientists. They have researched this, and they found out that when we get angry, there are two things that happen in our brain. There's a there's what they call the amygdala. It's the Mandelkern im Gehirn. It's somewhere here in the base of your skull, and also the front part of your brain, just behind your forehead. This part of your brain is responsible for making decisions and judgment and thinking logically. This part of your brain is the survival brain. So when you get angry, then this switches on and this switches off. Okay, so when we get extremely angry, it's scientifically proven that we cannot think logically anymore, and that the survival part of our brain switches off all things that are not necessary for survival. So that's why we find that if someone attacks us, biologically, if someone comes to you and shouts at you, biologically, it's the same as a wild animal trying to attack you. That's the same biological thing that happens in our brain. So that's why we go into survival mode. And that is why we say stupid things. That's why we shout at people. And sometimes we throw things, we break things, we hurt people. So that's what happens. And also, because they also found that the hormones cortisol, there's like the stress hormone, that also impacts your memory. So quite literally, if you become angry and stressed, you cannot remember things. You cannot remember the things that are important. Um, and that leads to trouble. So the point is that we cannot, in this life, I don't know about you, um, but I struggle with anger sometimes. So how do we use it? Krishna says, or Srila Prabhupada says, that a devotee knows that he can use anything in Krishna's service, right? So can you think of an example of someone that used their anger or any other kind of attachment in Krishna's service? Hmm? Dhruva? How? He was angry at his dad, but how did he use that anger in Krishna's service? Okay, that's a good one. I didn't think about that one. So Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy. He got offended because his stepmother said that he couldn't sit on his father's lap. He got angry because he's a little Kshatriya boy and Kshatriyas don't like to be offended. And his mother told him, yeah, if you want a bigger kingdom, because he said, yeah, I'm going to show daddy I'm going to have a bigger kingdom than him. And she said, go into the forest and ask for help for Sri Vishnu. So yeah, he meditated on Vishnu. So yes, instead of but he was only 5, so 5-year-old boy can't really do any, I mean, not at that stage. But yes, that's a good idea. He, instead of breaking something, he, in his anger, he went to God and he asked him for something. Later on, he realized that it was maybe not such a good thing. Devotion to Krishna is better than having a big kingdom. We can, again, from the Mahabharata, we have one example. From the Ramayana, we have another example. From the Mahabharata, we can learn that Arjuna was a good example of someone who used his anger in Krishna's service in the Bhagavad Gita, because he was the one that Krishna wanted to fight. And you cannot fight a war unless you are extremely angry. That's you can't fight a war without having all that adrenaline and all that stress hormone and all things in your body. That's impossible. So, but instead of destroying something, Arjuna just followed Krishna's instructions and said, you are going to fight, whether it's for me or for yourself. Fighting is in your blood, so rather do it for me. So soldiers of any kind, not just Arjuna, but soldiers of any kind, they know that they have this fighting propensity, and fighting propensity goes hand in hand with anger. But instead of fighting for selfish reasons, I can fight for good. So that is what Arjuna did. And then another example from the Ramayana was Hanuman. Hanuman was asked by Ram to go and find Sita. And he did. He did find her in Lanka. And he pacified her. And then he thought, what else can I do? So he kind of pretended to be caught, and they took him to Ravana, and he got extremely angry. And the Rakshasas thought that they could kill Hanuman, so they kind of just set fire to his tail. So he had a long tail, and they set fire to it. But luckily, because Sita was also praying for Hanuman for his safekeeping, the fire didn't hurt him. But Hanuman then expanded his body, and he just that burning tail, he just went all over. So he burnt the whole city. And because he thought that, okay, he's not going to kill Ravana because that's Ram's job. That's why Ram came, to kill Ravana. But he can do him the service by weakening the enemy, right? So by burning this whole city, the enemy was already weaker. And so that was his service. And it was done out of anger, but it was good because it was in the service of Krishna or of Ram. So we as people, we as human beings, we have negative emotions and we have anger, and we sometimes kind of go a little bit crazy if we go through difficult times. But we can always remember that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you can perform devotional service under all circumstances. You may not be able to do it equally well always, but there is always something that you can do, no matter how you feel, right? So um, that's the one part. The other part is that, yes, we do have attachments. Um, we all have things that we enjoy, uh, cooking, watching series, or playing sport, or whatever, making music. And the point is that either you can cook for yourself and eat it yourself, or you can cook something, offer it, turn it into prasadam, and then it's spiritualized, and then share it with other people. If you like music, you can either make music for yourself, or you can try and make music for Krishna, sing songs about Krishna, or just, I don't know. I always, I always have this dream of writing Krishna conscious stories, and then maybe, I mean, it would be so cool if we could have our own Krishna conscious movie channel where we make stories. So you can make music for Krishna, you can tell stories for Krishna, whatever it is that you are attached to, that desire to do that thing, there's always some way in which you can put it into Krishna's service. So that is our task, is to know that, yes, I become angry, but the anger is there for a reason. So modern psychologists always say that the emotions are not bad, they're like little flags that tell you that there's something wrong. So you always have to engage a little bit of your intelligence to find out, why am I angry, and try and fix that, or why am I sad, and then try and fix that. And also then to try and use our talents not for ourselves but in Krishna's service. And then it will be, if we try our absolute best to engage all of our senses, all of our talents into Krishna's service, then we will never fall down. Krishna will keep us safe. Just the other day, on, when did I give class? Saturday morning. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says that any good material thing that you gain by your own actions, by your pious actions, that you will lose at the end of the life, at the end of your life. So, but any good thing that you do in Krishna's service, maybe Krishna, yeah, so that you don't lose. So opulences gained through material means, that you lose, but opulences gained through spiritual means, that credit that you have on your spiritual bank account is always there. You never lose it. So the point is that Krishna says, no matter how much desire you have, how much imperfections you have, just bring it all to me. Just don't try and sort it out yourself. Come to the temple, pray to me, but yeah. So his point is, whatever you have, bring it to Krishna, and slowly, slowly, you will see that it becomes purified. Okay, so this verse is scientifically proven to be true. And do you have any questions or comments on this? Still have some time. It's a short lecture today. Yes.
Actually, this is not connected to this story, but for example, Lord Narasimha, when he incarnated, so he is also shown as like really angry at Hiranyakashipu. So this whole story of Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu, and Narasimha, it's no, I mean he was, I don't know,
He was the
not
incarnation of anger. Yes. Yeah. So Nrsingadev came, and even when he appeared, even Lakshmi Devi, his wife, said, like the wife of the Lord said, I don't know this man. I've never seen him like this before. So he was incarnated as anger. Why? Because he wanted to protect his devotee. So that is a very good way for us to also use our anger. Don't get angry when someone offends you. I know it's very difficult, but instead of getting offended when you are hurt, it's okay to get angry when a devotee, someone else gets hurt. So if you see another devotee being treated badly, then yes, by all means, show a little bit of that anger and stand up to that. So that's allowed. Also, I mean, that also has to be controlled. You can't just go wild, but yes, in that case, anger. I mean, if we any any parent here knows that if someone hurts your children, then then yes, you're going to get angry. I mean, I have I don't have children, but I have a father, and once he was a policeman, so he was a little bit different. There was a man, a prisoner, because I went with my father to the police station, and there was one of the prisoners who kind of came towards me and talked to me in a very disrespectful way. My father sorted him out. He felt very badly afterwards, but afterwards the prisoner knew, no, never ever touch or speak to that girl again, which is fine because that's his job. That's a father's job to protect his children. And yeah, so sometimes if we get angry, but it's because we want to protect someone else, then that's okay. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Anything else? In Ramayana, when Bharat gets to know that Ram has left and that his mother did this, he was very angry at Yes. his mother. Yes. And then he went in his devotion to Ram to say that, I will take your slippers and I will. Yeah. I don't know if that is. Yeah, so Ram was exiled from this kingdom because Ram's second mother, or because Dasarat had 4 wives, so Ram's brother's mother, she wanted her son to be on the throne, so she concocted a plan so that her son becomes king, and Bharat thought he got really angry and he said, "What's this? I don't care to be king. I just want to serve Krishna." So that was his thing. So he got angry at his mother for once, for that time. But it's also interesting that Ram told him afterwards, "Don't be angry at your mother, because it's part of a bigger plan." So yes, we have to also keep that in mind as devotees, that bad things, you have to understand that there's something bigger behind it. Either it is to teach you a lesson, you always learn something from bad things, but then also to just tolerate it. I mean, to an extent, but we can't always stop the bad things from happening, and we can't always stop the bad emotions, but eventually we know that it's always part of a bigger plan. We don't always know what the bigger plan is, but we can definitely 100% be sure that Krishna has everything under control. Yeah. There's a wonderful lecture series on YouTube by Amarendra Prabhu where he discusses the lessons from the Ramayana. And each of the characters, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna, you can learn everything because Bharat had a very difficult karma. This is now just an extra before we stop. Bharat had a very difficult time because everybody thought he wanted the kingdom. So he was falsely blamed. He had to deal with false blame. So now just think about how angry we get when someone falsely accuses us of something. And we can learn how to deal with that by looking at how Bharat dealt with it. So we have all these lessons from all these people from the Ramayana. So yeah, I'm in a Ramayana mood, building up to Ramayana because my name is Kamala-sita. So my Guru Maharaj thought it a good idea to give me a name of Sita. So that's why I like the Ramayana. Thank you very much for your attention. You can all go forward. We're going to stand up, clear away, offer a lamp, and then we'll get to um, best part of the program, which is the prasad. So thank you very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.